Hi, folks. Excuse me. Hi, folks. You're with us today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a few TV interviews I've seen from British television, English television, where globalist stooge flunkies, mass migration advocates have been telling the most outrageous lies about the illegal aliens crossing the channel, and indeed crossing the English channel, and indeed the amount of migration coming into to Britain in the last 12 months, legal migration. So I think it's an accepted number now that something in the order of 670 to 680,000 people arrived legally into Britain in the last 12 months, and that there was another 70 to 80,000 arriving illegally, again in the last 12 months. So this makes a total of somewhere around 750 to 770,000 total migration coming into the United Kingdom last year. Now, current projections for the next 12 months are that number, given the amount of visas and so on that are being given out, that number will probably exceed 1 million people coming into England, or into Britain rather, in the 12 months sort of from today. Now, I don't know whether those projections are going to be accurate or not, but one got to assume that it's going to be at the very least 750,000 and more likely 1 million than not. So that's a huge immigration intake. And whether you look at it as a percentage of population, whether you look at it in raw numbers, or however you slice or dice it, Britain has never had this level of immigration ever. What benefit it brings to the British Isles and England is hard to say. The globalists want it, and that's the globalist determination that it must happen. And so the local UK government, which is totally lock, stock and barrel controlled by the globalists, is doing the bidding of their masters and bringing in vast numbers of people, be it illegal or otherwise. The same thing's happening in the United States, same thing in Australia. So it's a globalist gig, and it's international. Wherever the globalists are in control, particularly in the white Western countries, then you have this mass migration of illiterate peasants from the third world. Now, listening to some of the interviews that pro mass migration activists are pushing, they're arguing that firstly, let's say this 1 million people, immigrants coming in. Their argument is breaks down to a number of ways. Firstly, they say, well, most of those, more than half, are students coming to study. They're not immigrants, and they're just being given long-term visas where they could stay forever if they wanted to, but most of them don't. And they also bring their dependents with them, which artificially inflates the figures. So how somebody, can come to study as a student, and they bring their wife and 3, 4, 5, 6 plus children, it's quite beyond me. And then the argument that they stay for the duration of their studies and then go straight back to Pakistan or Nigeria or India or somewhere like that is insane. I just don't believe that happens at all, nor have I seen any data to back it up in any way. So this claim that they nearly all go back to where they came from, I don't believe that. The next thing is that there's some of these people are just on temporary work visas, or they're not really intending to stay. They just want a few years of work in the first world, in a first world country, save a bit of money, then go back to their dirt poor basket case country where they can live like kings. I suppose that's possible, and I am aware of situations like that, but harder to say. Someone that might arrive as a young man to from Pakistan, or so he might arrive and stay for 20 years, get married, have children, he may very well go back, but the children stay. Things like that. So I don't know if you can be that simplistic about the numbers. So the claim is that these advocates say, well, the number may be 1 million, but in reality, it's going to be less than 20% of that million actually stay in the UK. So the numbers are unrepresentative of the change and effect it'll have on society. Now, even if we look at 200,000 migrants in third world countries who all go to live in ghettos and this sort of thing, even that's a massive number for a country the size of England with the population that it has. So to suggest that's an irrelevancy and we only got 200,000 instead of 1 million. Wow, we're way in front. That's pretty cool. That's nonsense. That's for a country the size of Britain, of the population that it's got, I would think at most they should be getting in, well, definitely less than 100,000 a year, and that those 100,000 should all be, very well qualified people who are prepared to integrate into British society and speak good English. I think that's absolutely mandatory. But anyway, so whatever the immigration numbers are, they're way beyond anything the country can absorb or sustain. So it will irrevocably change the culture and the makeup of British society. And as many people are mentioning, over the next 2 or 3 decades, Britain will become minority white, and there'll be fewer white children at school than there will be in, the other races. So now, having had a brief experience of a school with a lot of migrants, like Arabic migrants primarily, school with a lot of Arabic migrants, and where white people were in a minority. This was only like 6 months or so. But I can attest it's not a pleasant place to be. Definitely not. So the makeup of the nation will change, drastically. But just looking at the interviews now, most of these pro-immigration activists, they get interviewed on pro-globalist, pro-immigration TV, current affairs shows, news shows, and talk shows, and so on. So they usually get very soft interviews, so they can make the most ridiculous and outrageous assertions, and they won't get questioned or asked, or if they are asked anything at all, it's in a choreographed, stage managed setting where the question's been prearranged and the answer's been well rehearsed. So they're not real interviews, far from it. They're just, again, propaganda platforms. But you do get some interviews, not many, but you do get some where the the pro mass migration advocate, who's an activist working for the globalists, does get asked a question. And it's interesting to look at how they handle the questioning. They're clearly not used to it and don't get much of it, but it's how they handle it. So the one, I'm thinking of one now where the topic was about the illegal crossings of the English Channel and how illegal aliens were coming into England, and that should be stopped. So the pro-immigration advocate says, well, why should it be? There's lots of jobs going unfilled in this country. We need more skills and we need more workers. That's clearly so. Therefore, we need these people. Why would we complain if they're coming over? Now, straight away, well, what job vacancy? What are you talking about? Well, illiterate peasants of the third world are going to fill. What jobs are they going to fill? And if wages are so low in certain industries that we need only third world peasants can be brought in to fill them, why doesn't the government have short-term work visa programs? Why do these people have to arrive illegally? What jobs are we talking? Where are these skills short? And so on. So there should be some real questioning. But even in this interview, where I wouldn't have called the interviewer overly sympathetic to the mass migration or the illegal migrants arriving, or the illegal aliens arriving rather, but she didn't push back on that one. She just sort of let it go through. So the guy's already, the advocate, the globalist flunkey's already got the edge now. He's already said, well, there's a need for these people. We need them. Why should we complain if they're coming? They're coming here at their own expense to work in these jobs that are needed. They're going to make everyone's life better. They're going to pay taxes. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be beautiful. Why would you complain about that? Now, there should be instant pushback there. but there isn't. And I would push back hard on that alone. But then it comes to the next thing where well, why should we? The people smugglers should be stopped. Well, these people are, the boat should be turned back. Well, if you want little children to drown in the English Channel, if that's what you want, then that's fine. And that's okay for somewhere like Nazi Germany. But I think we've come a long way since then. You're not a Nazi, are you? And they'll come. So it's equivalent to an ambush. That the rough high school where kids go coming up to you going, were you looking at me? What did you say to me? You want a punch in the head, motherfucker? That sort of thing. That high school sort of bullying type tactic, and it's really no better than that in my view. No, I've had some experience sort of with this. I remember going to a bookshop where they had. This is one of the most exalted and popular history bookshops in Sydney, and I went. I hadn't been there for a few years, and I went back, and the history section had been radically cut in size, and had been replaced with gay lesbian propaganda books and things like that. And I commented to the guy. I actually bought a book, and I commented to the guy in the shop. I said, "You had a great history section here. It's now got all the gay lesbian stuff. What happened?" Rather than answer the question or even deal with it, the guy just went straight. Oh well, if you're Hitler, then if you like saying Sieg Heil, then that's it. Oh, fuck. He went straight to it though. Not even. If you're a Nazi, where's your swastika? That's just asking about where the history section's go. So you almost don't know what to say because it's so unreasonable and ridiculous that you're caught by surprise. What are you talking about? I'm not a Nazi. And straight away they've got you on the back foot, and they've claimed, artificially and outrageously so, but they've claimed the moral high ground. They're the good guys fighting for goodness, and you're the Nazi. You're Hitler. So, and it was the same looking at this interview where the guy came back, well, if you want little children, little girls to drown in the Channel, that's Nazi Germany. And he went straight to it. And you could tell it was a rehearsed line. It was, he's had his media training, this guy. So when they say this to you, when they ask that question, just come back and accuse them of being Hitler and do it straight away. And then they'll be so off balance in dealing with the ridiculousness of the accusation that they won't even wait for an answer. They'll just try and move on to the next topic and so on, which kind of works too. No one seems to know what to do when you're that unreasonable, particularly when it's done that quickly, because it's like done in the form of an ambush. Now I may, I've had this. Someone tried that on with me not that long ago. So how I would respond or did respond in that sort of situation was, so wait a minute, you want the people smugglers, the illegal people smugglers, people who are breaking the law, you want them to put little children in boats in dangerous weather where they may die, they may drown. You've said that. So you want, and you're supporting these people smugglers putting little children in danger, in great danger, in bad weather on these little boats in the English Channel. Well, that makes you the Nazi. You're Hitler. And you can come back that way, but you've got to be ready to come back straight away. You can't even, you hesitate for more than a few moments and they've already got you on the back foot and you've lost any chance of moral high. It looks like as a word they've said, I said you were a Nazi first, and it becomes rather petty and childish in many ways. But the guy was able to almost effortlessly push back against and evade the serious questions. But by that tactic, whenever he was asked a question, he just came back straight away with "You're a Nazi," in different flavors and so on. And each time he got away with it. So he never really had to face the hard questioning. And the interviewers need to do some training and preparation themselves when they call you a Nazi, you do this, because they've had a lot of media training, these people, to be able to evade questions and evade difficult questions, and to put the interviewer off their game. And they don't do it that often, because very few interviewers will call it out. I mean, I would if I was interviewing them, but most of them don't, or do it very softly and prepared to move on. So they were able to, in the interviews I've seen, they were able to say, well, the immigration isn't anywhere near as bad as they as said. Nearly all these people go back home, so it's no big deal. We've got massive job vacancies and skill shortage, which is an absolute lie and is being used all across the Western world. Skills, we need skills. The economy can't grow without skills. And the skilled people we need to fill it are all illiterate, low IQ peasants from third world countries who maybe had 2 or 3 years at some shitbox school out in the middle of nowhere. They're the ones that have got all these skills that we're apparently short of. That's of course absurd, but the globalists want the mass migration, and part of their talking points they hand out to everybody is, well, say skills shortage. And if they complain, and then if anyone says anything again, call them a Nazi, and so on. So it's not, it's hardly sophisticated really, but it's done in a very organised, centralised, tightly scripted manner. And these advocates for mass migration and illegal migration are able to get away with it. Other things like so what you're saying, interviewer, is that you want this person who's escaping persecution, who may have been seen their relatives murdered in front of them, their relatives murdered in front of them, their little babies, little girls dressed in pink murdered in front of them. They've seen that and they're trying to escape that. And you're saying you want to send them back. That's the sort of thing that Hitler would do. And so they're able to escape. And so, okay, how do you know where is this person who's had their relative? Do you have them here? Can you bring them into the studio? I mean, let's just investigate that, and our investigators will make sure that this person is the real thing. Oh, so what you're saying now is you want to persecute people even after they've been persecuted? You double Nazi. But they really got to be called out, pushed back, and shown for the lies and the fucking propaganda they put about, because this mass immigration is destroying the West, and the globalists know it. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.